computer. Should be. Okie dokie. What do I want to do? Okie dokie. Okay, well, welcome everyone to Teamwork as Your Competitive Superpower. Super excited to have you here today. My name's Julia Felton, and I'm going to be your host and guide for the next 45 minutes while we delve into this topic. But I always like to start straight away setting some context for this. So I'm going to be sharing my screen with you. I've got a little slide deck and some polls that we're going to be doing throughout the day. But let's just start with a poll. That would be a little bit of fun here. So the first question I would like to ask is, who has worked in a non-functioning team? Can you see that on the screen?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, you can. Excellent. Thank you. So who's worked in a non-functioning team, a toxic team? Oh, right. Okay, so 50% have, 50% haven't. Okie dokie. Great. It was interesting this because I didn't work in a toxic team for a long time when I was in the corporate world. And then I did, and I realized how bad it was. So we got 50-50 split on that. And then the next question, let's go back here, is I'd love to know, what was the impact of being in a toxic team? For those of you that were, did it have a lot of impact on you? If that's 10, that's massively. And if it didn't, then that is a 1 or a 2. So what impact did being in a toxic team have on you? 100%. Right. Just see if anyone else is going to answer. Yeah, an 8. Okay. Yeah, so quite a few high scores coming there. And I think this is what the challenge is here. Let me just share those results with you on the screen. So one person is at a 10, somebody else is an 8. There you go, share the results there. So this is the challenge of working in teams that aren't very effective, is that they have a massive impact on everybody around us. And so this is why I'm so passionate about this topic, because this is why I call it as well, this hidden superpower that we have in business. Because if we could just create a great environment in which people work, then we can unleash people's productivity and innovation and creativity and get much better results within our business. So let's just talk about what is a team, because there's a lot of talk out there about what is a team and what isn't a team. Okay. So, okay. So what is a team? A team can be defined as a group of individuals in pursuit of a common mission or goal. And they're often sacrificing personal agendas for the sake of team accomplishment. So really, really important. The key thing is here, this common goal or mission for people, that everyone's aligned behind the same thing. And I think it's really important for us to recognize that teams don't become strong, cohesive units without effort. It takes perseverance. And you've got to have this clear stated intention in order that you can become a true team. And it's easy to get away with silo mentality because team members don't naturally collaborate. It takes a lot of time, energy, and effort to have effective collaboration within business. And so this is why I see it's not being used very effectively. But before we delve into this topic in a lot of detail, let's have a little look at what are the differences between a group and a team, because I think that this is really important, because often we have people working together and we think they're a team and they're actually not. They're just a group of individuals that happen to be working on the same thing, but they're not working cohesively as a team. So the 7 differences between a group and a team are that a team has this real purpose and goals. They are totally aligned in terms of what they are working towards. Freddie, can we just mute everyone so that there's no background noise? That's okay. Yeah, thank you. So they all know, they're all heading in the same direction. They've got exactly the same thing going on. And I think that for me is perhaps the key differentiator between the group and the team. You can have a group of volunteers that come together to maybe, let's say have a garden party, create a fete or something for a local church. Um, but that really is a group of people. They're all working on the same project, the fate for the church, but they're all doing it for their own different aspirations and goals. So they're not all necessarily working with the same collective purpose. The second difference is all about interaction and collaboration because groups tend to work in parallel with limited interdependence, whereas teams work much more collaboratively together. And as a result of that collaboration, the teams need coordination, communication, and really good interconnectivity to make things work. The third difference for me is around accountability and responsibility. So for me in teams absolutely take full responsibility and accountability for getting the task done. And there's this collective responsibility for something to happen. Whereas often in a group, everyone does their own bit, and we hope that that cohesively comes together. The fourth difference is about leadership dynamics. So in teams, we see leadership shared. I talk a lot about shared leadership and the power of shared leadership. Whereas within a group, it tends to be a lot more hierarchical. And we don't have this shared leadership. We tend to put one person in a group in charge and that they take responsibility for everything. That's for me is not a team. A team is when everyone's pulling together and everyone has responsibility for the leadership. Which then leads into number 5, which is all about individual and collective performance. In groups, groups achieve success because of the individual members' achievements. Whereas in the team, we have to focus on this synergy and this collective performance to get success. Number 6 is all about communication styles. So in my experience, teams need to be very adaptable. They're very good at giving and receiving effective feedback and morphing and changing based on that. Whereas in groups, that can be maybe not as effective. And finally, around I can't even say adaptability and innovation. Teams are very, very adaptable. They learn to change and move, as we say, on the hoof. They're very good at collective problem solving. So I think really important when we start out, when we're trying to figure out, is teamwork our competitive superpower? Are we dealing with a group or are we dealing really with a true team? Because that's going to affect where we go. But why do we want to build teams in the first place? What's the point? They take time, they take energy. Well, teamwork builds trust, and it's trust that builds speed. And in his book, The Speed of Trust, Stephen Covey talks about this. The higher the level of trust, the more speed you have in an organization, and actually the less cost it is. Whereas when we have distrust, things take much longer to do, and it becomes a lot more expensive to get things done. So there's a financial benefit for us building effective teams because of the speed that's going to happen. And what I particularly love about teamwork is this concept of 1 + 1 = 3. The power of synergy. Each of us deliver more than what we could individually. And so we get this concept of 1 and 1 = 3. And this is really, really powerful. And this is where, in a world where we are short of resources, particularly in terms of time and energy resources, teamwork helps us accelerate that and get more done with less time. So there's a number of people on here today that I haven't met before. So I thought it might just be helpful for me to introduce myself momentarily and just to share a little bit about what my purpose is and why I'm doing this. So my purpose in life, my why, my mission is to transform the way businesses operate by harnessing the power of nature to inspire and develop exceptional leaders and high-performing teams. And in everything we do in our business, in my business, we challenge the status quo to create businesses which people love to work at and where their hidden potential is unleashed. And I do this in a variety of different ways. I run experiential interactive workshops with my herd of horses. So you'll often find me delivering workshops out in the barn and out in the field with my horses. I also obviously deliver online and in-person workshops as well. I'm also a keynote speaker and I'm the author of 2 books. But everything that I talk about always has a theme of leadership and teamwork and how to unlock that hidden potential to get the best out of everybody. Because I know that my success in life really has come from some really great bosses that I worked for early on in my career that really saw my potential and helped me unleash that. And that's what sent me on a trajectory to my level of success. And I'm really passionate about helping other people do that as well. I'm also really passionate about nature, and my horses have been some of my best teachers in terms of how to work effectively in teams and to be a great leader. So I'm always looking to nature for solutions to the problems that exist in business today. And I really love this quote from Albert Einstein: "Look to nature and you will understand everything better." Because I believe that nature has an answer for everything. And if we could only harness the power of what's happening in nature, I think that we could create much more effective organizations that operate on these principles of connection, collaboration, and cohesiveness. So, what I love about nature is the interdependence and interconnectedness of everything. We look at this picture, the ecology of nature. Nothing in this picture can exist without something else. So the trees can't grow without the sunlight coming down. The trees can't grow without the water. The water needs the sunlight for like the plankton and the small algae and stuff to grow within it. Um, so there's this interconnectedness. Nature really understands how everything works together to create the whole. And I think this is such a powerful concept. And yet, time and time again in business, I see people within organizations not understanding what I call this ripple effect of what they make. They do something and they don't understand the repercussions that that has on the other areas of the business. So, for example, the IT department put in a new piece of IT kit. On paper, that seems a great idea. But actually, operationally, when the people on the front line have to use this piece of equipment, it's not fit for purpose. And I think about an example that I've been witnessing in the last couple of years with a company that I work with, where they've put in exactly this, a new point of sale system. Um, but all of the team members are really struggling with it. It's not very intuitive, it's quite clunky. And as a result of that, it's been impacting customer service. So it's so important that with an organization, we understand that the decision made in one area of the business has an impact and a ripple effect on the rest of the business. And if only each and every one of us understood that, I think that that can make a massive difference to how we put things together within the organization. The other thing that I really love about nature that I think we can learn a lot from is what I call symbiotic relationships. And this is a picture of a Cape water buffalo, and this is the cattle egret sitting on top of it. And I love this that the cattle egret, he actually does two jobs. He sits on the buffalo, and he can see danger further away, so he can provide a warning system for the buffalo about where the danger might come from. But also, he's able to take the ticks and the mites and the parasites. He actually picks them off the buffalo's back. So there's a win-win situation here. And I think this is the power of teamwork, is creating this win-win situation rather than the win-lose situation that a number of us find in business, and certainly that exists when we have a toxic environment. So let's just talk about, well, what are the benefits of teamwork? If teamwork's going to take a lot of time and energy and effort to put together, why would we want to do it? Well, here are 8 reasons that I believe it's so important that we foster teamwork within an organization. And the first is it boosts productivity. When people are working together, we definitely get the impact of 1 plus 1 equals 3. So everyone can get more done because everyone also is working to their strengths and doing the things they love to do. So what organization wouldn't want more productivity? That, for me, it makes sense that we should do this. And yet, as I said, time and time again, we find organizations not working effectively together. And the result of that is lost productivity and effectiveness. And when we think about the poll we just did earlier on, you know, the impact of that toxic work environment was for a number of you that you weren't so effective at work. It had a massive impact on you. And, what we've seen a lot in terms of productivity is when people working in environments that aren't conducive and aren't supporting to them, it really impacts their mental health. And as a result, they just don't get as much done each and every day. So productivity is perhaps the first reason for getting great teamwork. It also improves decision making. The more people that we've got, the more different perspectives we get on things. And so we can actually make better decisions. And I don't know about any of you, but when I'm in my business, if I'm the only person and I've got to make a decision, if I'm not sure, it's very easy for me to procrastinate and not get things done. Whereas when we've got somebody that we can bounce ideas off of, or one person or a group of people, we can get things done much quicker. We get that degree of certainty and security from somebody going, "Oh, Julia, that's a good decision. Why don't we go with that?" Teamwork also enables better problem solving. Um, different perspectives. Everyone sees things through a different lens. So I'm looking at you today through these glasses. Somebody else will be seeing things differently. And we all know that everyone sees the world differently. You only have to think about, seeing, perhaps, dare I say, and I hope you don't have to see this, but a car crash, for example. And everyone sees something different. Somebody said, "Oh yeah, no, that guy braked first. Oh no, they did this first." So everyone has a different interpretation of things. But this is really powerful because then that means we've got different perspectives, and that's how we can solve problems more easily. Importantly, these different perspectives therefore unlock innovation and spark creativity. We can find new ways and new perspectives of doing things because we're seeing things through a different lens. And for me, this is really, really a big benefit, this creativity and coming up with new ideas. We're living in a world where the speed of change is very, very rapid. So as organizations, we need to continually innovate and reinvent in order to stay ahead of the curve. And we can only do that when we can foster and harness all the ideas of people working for us to get new inspiration about what to do. Another benefit of teamwork is it yields less mistakes. When you've got more people looking at something, that means that hopefully somebody could see a potential error that might happen before it happens. But importantly, teamwork makes for a happier and more engaged team member. And we know when team members are happier and more engaged, they're more productive and more effective. And they also, therefore, develop more. When people are happier, motivated, and engaged, they're likely to put up their hand and volunteer to do another task within the business or within the team and try and stretch themselves. So personal growth is also a great benefit for us of teamwork. And in this 24/7 environment that we live in, that is this VUCA, volatile, uncertain, chaotic, ambiguous world, the risk of burnout is really high for people. People feel like we're on 24/7, that we never stop. So when we've got a team around us, we can share that burden. So the risk of burnout lowers. And I think that that's really, really important for us as leaders to recognize. But the numbers speak for themselves, folks, about why teamwork is a superpower. And I've just pulled together a few stats here, and I'm happy to make all of the citations of this available to you. But teams that work well together are 50% more productive, according to Stanford University. And they make better decisions 87% of the time. And this collaborative decision making can lead to a 50% increase in innovation. And that as a result, collaborative teams are 5 times more likely to be high performing in creating innovation. In a society where we are time poor, team members save an average of 50 minutes daily due to efficient collaboration. That's a statistic from McKinsey. And they also show that diverse teams outperform non-diverse teams by 35%. So this is diversity in thought, in outlook, and that comes from, having a different nationalities of people together, different religions, different socioeconomic groupings. So the more diversity that we can put in a team, the more effective it can be. And obviously, a number of you will be aware, the whole equality and diversity and inclusion agenda is massive now. And this is one of the reasons, because of these different perspectives that we get and how that can boost performance. McKinsey also noted that teamwork's very important for 37% of team members. So 37% of people actually want to work for companies where teamwork happens. And I think that comes back to a natural need of all of us want to belong. We all want to be part of something bigger than ourselves. And when we recognize quality work and achievements of teams and work groups, profits increase by 29%. So some really compelling reasons there on why to create effective teams. And of course, there's the cultural benefits of having effective teams. Companies that foster teamwork have a 50% lower employee turnover rate, and that's a statistic from Gallup. 50%, that's an incredible amount. Companies with a strong collaborative culture are 20% more likely to retain their employees. So in an environment where it's difficult to find great team members, we want to hold on to them, which is why it's important that we create a collaborative team culture around us. I found this statistic really interesting. 41% of team members who are aware of their strengths show lower absenteeism. Excuse me. So if you really understand your strengths and how you contribute to a team, you're way more likely to show up for work. You're going to have less days off sick or ill or whatever it might be. The dream team size is actually 4.6 people. Very, very scientific there. But what we've typically found is the most successful workplace teams usually consist of between 4 and 9 people. There's also a piece of research that shows the optimal size for any type of organizations with teams in is 150. And one of the reasons being that they say 150, which would then have sub-teams within it, is that the 150 is really probably the maximum number of people that you can engage with and know as a line manager. And more than 60% of team members at some point feel work exhaustion, but being part of a team eases this and the effects of it. So this relates to the previous point we were making about burnout. So we know people are going to feel exhausted, but when you feel that you've got the support of team members around you, that makes a massive difference. And I found this as well a really compelling statistic. Teamwork statistics specify that 97% of workers and employees believe that a lack of team alignment influences the success of a task or project. So lack of team alignment is the major reason for why a project fails. Whereas when everyone knows their objectives and the tasks of the team, they become unstoppable. So there's a real onus on us as leaders to make sure everyone has clarity about the direction of the project and what their role is. And so this is a model I want to share with you now. I call this the unbridled teamwork blueprint, and it's a triad. And I love our concept of a triad. The triad is the strongest form that exists in nature. And if you actually try and build one, I made one of cocktail sticks. It's really difficult to break a triad because these triangles are so super, super strong together. And in the unbridled teamwork blueprint, the cornerstones of our triad are clarity, So knowing what the purpose is of the team and what your role is within it. It's connection. How do we build relationships with the other people in the team? It's about conflict and how we manage conflict and how actually conflict is very healthy within the organization and the team. And finally, the other part of the blueprint is commitment, because teams are only effective when everyone is committed to achieving the same thing. And when we look at the blueprint in more detail, when we've got clarity about the purpose of where we're going and connection, we get really effective communication flows going on between people. And when we've got great connection, but we can engage in healthy conflict, we can get to consensus about what to do next. When we've got clarity about our role and we've got a real commitment, that's when we can make a really great contribution to society and what's going on around us. And finally, when we've got this healthy conflict and commitment to find a solution, then we can get to creativity. So these are the cornerstones and the pillars that think that help us create this superpower of effective teamwork when we can get all of these things aligned and working together. So today we're just going to look at a couple of these areas because we've not got time to delve into all of them. Because the result, should I say, of connection and commitment is collaboration, and the result of clarity and healthy conflict is cohesion. So this is how we get our collaborative, cohesive teams when everything aligns. But what does that collaboration looks like? It's definitely easier to collaborate when you know what you're bringing to the party. And I really love this graphic, and I want to give credit to Nathan Alt at the GC Index for this, because collaboration can really take two forms. We've got the people on the left riding their bikes with those square wheels, and they're like, we're making progress, keep pedaling. I see this a lot in organizations. Teams they're making some progress, but not as much as they would like. And of course, it's difficult and challenging for them. They're on square wheels. But how better would it be if somebody came along who said, would you like to try some round wheels? I think these would help. This is an example of impactful collaboration, how one team has a solution and they can offer it to the other team and it can make everyone's life better. So collaboration isn't about giving up something. It's about creating this win-win scenario where I've got something, and if I share it with you, then we both win collectively. And cohesiveness. I love this graphic as well that I found from Market Tunist on the web, because this is what we see all the time in organizations, this silo farming. The marketing department, the creative agency, the sales department, the operations department, everyone working individually, no synergy. And as the guys say here, nope, free range won't work. They're happier in separate pens where they can blame each other when things go wrong. And I think we can probably all relate to that, right? I've all worked in an organization where we've seen that. And I think this is where my passion for this whole topic came from, because when I was working at Deloitte, I had a role that was quite holistic, and I oversaw a lot of different areas of the business. And I could easily see how different parts of the organization weren't cooperating together. And it used to really frustrate me because of this amount of wasted time, energy, and resources that happened because we weren't sharing resources, and the expertise and knowledge in this area of the organization wasn't shared over here. And I used to have to spend my life joining dots and joining people together and teams together to go, they've got some information that could really help you. And I just wish that within organizations we could achieve this much more effectively, because then we wouldn't have this blame culture. We'd stop this toxicity. We'd stop this fighting between each other, the kind of the ego that we see going on in organizations. And that would make a massive difference. And in fact, the International Data Corporation, they did some research that showed that organizations that had this cohesiveness and this collaboration had 30% lower staff turnover, 30% higher productivity, and 30% higher revenue per employee. So again, some very good business reasons for doing this. But in the interest of time today, we're just going to delve into that pillar of clarity in the unbridled business teamwork model. And I think this is a great quote here from John F. Kennedy. Effort and courage are not enough without purpose and direction. So we can spend a lot of time spending effort and doing things, but if we don't have this purpose, nothing happens within the organization. Because teams work best when we've got this compelling context in which to work in. And the more urgent and meaningful the rationale is, the more the team are likely to live it and we're likely to see the performance. But team members really need to believe in the cause, or else they won't be prepared to sacrifice their own interests for it. So we really need to spend a lot of time when we're forming teams to really get agreement on what this purpose is, what the teams are going to do. What is their raison d'etre for being? Because once we can do that, we've got this glue that can keep everyone working effectively together. And what the research shows is that failed teams rarely have this common purpose, this clarity about what they're doing. So clarity of purpose, really important. And of course, that needs to be aligned then with what the purpose is of the business. So it cascades up. So the team can see how their role ultimately contributes to the bigger whole. And I love this quote from Paul Polman. Paul Polman is the former CEO of Unilever, who said, having a deeper purpose to what we do as people makes our life more complete, which is a tremendous force and motivator. What people want in life is to be recognized, to grow, and to have made a difference. To work for an organization who can leverage this and be seen to making a difference is rewarding. So at a deep human need, we have a need to be part of something to make a difference. And definitely Gen X and millennials definitely want to work for organizations where they're going to make a difference in purpose. So we need this purpose to galvanize everyone and pull them together. But the other part of clarity is understanding your impact and contribution. I like to call this as know your place in the herd. Know what you're doing. And here are the dung beetles here in the African plains. Really small, but they've got a really important job to do. They go and collect all the feces that the animals have collected, and they create a big ball and they put that together. And that provides nutrition for other parts of the ecosystem. So everyone has a role within a business, but all too often, people don't really understand what their role is and how they can leverage it. So I love this quote from Mother Teresa. You can do what I cannot do. I can do what you cannot do. Together, we can do great things. So everyone's got their own skills and uniqueness. So when we combine those together, we can do great things. You know, when I think about some of my skills, I'm maybe not so great at doing my accounts, about attention to detail. But I am great at coming up with new ideas, being very innovative and being very creative. So it's really important that I partner and work with people that can talk and do the things that I'm not so great at. Because the things that I'm not so great at are also the things that deplete my energy and the things I'm not going to spend very much time doing. Because as in the words of Albert Einstein, everyone is a genius. But if you judge a fish on its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. I can see a few people laughing at this quote in the audience. So yeah, this is so important. I believe our role as leaders and when we're creating our teams is to get everyone in the right role where everyone is displaying their genius. And, you know, unfortunately, I see way too many parents, you know, telling their kids they need to do a certain job, not what the child wanted to do, but you know, what's acceptable, be an accountant, you know, whatever it might be. And then you see the child, you know, really depleted of energy. They struggle through school and college because it's not what they wanted to do. And in fact, just before I came on this call, I got a call from my partner, and his daughter's just got a first in fine arts. You know, it's clearly her zone of genius. That's what she loves to do. It's kind of not what her dad had aspirations for her doing. but you know, he's super, super proud that she's got a first in her degree. Um, but if he made her be an accountant, you know, or go and be a mechanical engineer or something like that, do I think she would have got a first? Absolutely not. Would she have been miserable? Yes. Is she happy, vibrant, living life to the full? Absolutely, because she's doing what she's amazing at. So I think we've got a role as leaders to really make sure we make this happen within the organization. And I always love this cartoon every time I see it because, you know, we talk about diversity and inclusion all the time in business, but this is just such a classic example of what's going on. So here we have the interviewer going, for a fair selection, everyone has to take the same exam. Please climb that tree. Well, who do we think is going to have the most success? The monkey, obviously the bird can fly up there. The dog, depending on his climbing abilities, might be able to get up there. The elephant's probably going to knock it down. And quite frankly, the poor penguin, the goldfish, and the sea lion have no chance at all. So, yes, we need to have some criteria for selecting people, but we need to select people on where their zone of genius is and put them in a role where they can succeed rather than having the same criteria for everybody, because that's just not going to work. And that actually is going to be biased and unfair. So, one of the tools that I use that I just wanted to quickly share with you is the GC index, because this is a great way of understanding what the value is that you deliver to an organization and what your impact is. Because we have game changers and they create the original ideas, a bit like my partner's daughter, you know, very, very artistic, comes up with the amazing ideas for art. But we need then somebody to make sense of the ideas. We need what we call a strategist who maps out the future. They can take the ideas of the game changer and make them make sense. And then we need the implementer who builds the future, who makes them happen. Otherwise, I see so many organizations or so many entrepreneurs that come up with great ideas, but nothing ever happens with them because they're not great at implementing. And once we've implemented something, then we need a polisher to come along to make them brilliant and create the future that we can be proud of, that continuous improvement. And then we can have a playmaker in the middle who orchestrates everyone working together. So what I love about this framework is that it really helps us put the right people in our teams at the right time to get the best results. Because there's no point in having a brainstorming meeting with loads of implementers in it, because that's not their thing. They're not likely to come up with the ideas. But once we've come up with the ideas, then we need to have a strategist to put them into some kind of plan. And then the implementer can go, oh, that could work, that could not work. So really, really important. And the GC index is a topic that I'm going to delve into in our next masterclass that we're going to be doing in August. So please do make sure you sign up for that, because we'll give you access to take complimentary access to take the assessment to find out about yourself. So if we could just summarize today as I'm bringing this to a close, what are the 5 traits of highly effective teams? Well, they need to be totally aligned and have this purpose that we've been talking about. They also need to be able to have those healthy conflict conversations that we talked about in the original model. So they need to really have really challenging conversations. They need to understand about themselves and others and know what impact they're making. They also need to be able to share the leadership between themselves. And as a result of that, they need to be transparent and authentic. So the 5 traits of highly effective teams, your hidden superpower, all revolves around trust. Because without trust, nothing is going to happen. And teams underperform when people are distrustful of one another. We're not able to handle the conflict. The team is misaligned and there's a lack of commitment. There's no compelling vision. There's no accountability. The team's not able to complete a project on time and within budget. And the team fails to innovate. And none of us want this to be happening in our business, which is why it's really, really worth us spending the time and energy investing in creating high performance teams and unleashing this superpower. I think it's really interesting because we're going into a summer of a huge raft of sporting events here across the world, with the Olympics, the Euro football, Wimbledon tennis. And we tend to think about sports teams as demonstrating great teamwork. But I'd like to say, there's massive amounts of teamwork happening within organizations. And my invitation for you is to look and find out within your organization what contributes to great teamwork. Who are the leaders that make great teamwork happen? And how do they make it happen? And remember, it can also include the people in the background. We think here of Andy Murray here. He's only become successful because of the people who are surround himself with, his coach, his physio, his fitness trainer, all these different people. So sometimes the team that we see in the spotlight, or the team members we see in the spotlight, they couldn't do that without all the backroom staff. So really think about that within your organization and the teams you're working with. Who are the people in the background that are helping the teams make that success, because they're equally important to collaborate with. So, thank you for your time and energy today. If anyone's got any questions, I'm happy to answer them. But, if you're not connected with me, please do connect with me on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/in/Julia Felton. Please subscribe to my podcast, Impactful Teamwork, where every week I'm sharing with you more of my thoughts on teamwork and how to be successful as a leader of a team. You can find Impactful Teamwork on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, and also on my website, which is called Business Horsepower, under the podcast tab. And if you'd like to have a no obligation chat, I'd love to talk to you about what's going on in your business. And you can reach me at calendly.com/JuliaFelton/discovery. And I shall just put that in the chat for you now. So has anyone got any questions that they would like to ask before we finish today? Yeah. Okay, let's just put the
I just would like to thank you, Julia, because this was packed with valuable information. I even took some notes here of the things that I resonated with most. So this was really, really, really good, really practical advice, and I really liked it. Thank you.
You are so welcome. Thank you so much, Barbara. And for everyone, just put a date in your diary. The next event is going to be on Tuesday, the 6th of August at 11 a.m. We will be back here for another round. I would be doing one next month, but I'm about to go on vacation. If anyone does want to book into my calendar, please note the availability starts in August, because I am literally off grid for most of July. So important that when we're working, that we take time to refuel and renew our energy sources. So that's what I'm doing. I'm taking a digital detox for a couple of weeks and stepping away from my business in order to I can refuel, because I know that I can only give the best to you if I am operating on maximum capacity. So really important that all of you over the summer take time to refuel and rest and restore and come back strong. So thank you everyone for your time and energy today. I really appreciate it. I hope you found this useful. If you weren't able to join us live, there will be a replay that we'll be sending out to you later on. And please, as I said, do book in. Love to have a conversation with you and find out, what's going on in your teams and explore how we can support you with that, because teamwork is just such a topic I'm so passionate about, because it is, as I said, this superpower that can create competitive advantage if only we can unleash it and unlock it and use it effectively to best effect. So I hope you have an amazing day, and I look forward to seeing everyone on the next edition. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Julia.
You're welcome.